I had as much fun as possible for 2 months. And what happened was kind of unexpected. Look, I live in Miami, born and raised in Miami. So the lights here and the party hits me a bit different. I've never really been a party person, but in the last 2 months, so since early April, I've made it a point to go to some of these engagements, right? These social experiments. And I'd say perhaps I haven't been to enough. Maybe I didn't go to the right ones. I don't know, but I would take a silent night out over that at least 8 times out of 10. Now, why the 2? Because it seems like I still need to give myself room to stretch into those types of territories, especially because, well, as a musician, as someone who publishes music, promotes music, their own music that they made, I know that I would need to be the center of that engagement to some extent one day, right? I mean, that's a complete opposite end of the spectrum from where the rest of the crowd is, right? Just going to a party or something. But for me, it becomes more of like, it's a real confrontation with myself. And I know that this is something quite candid where it's like, you should probably keep this to yourself. Well, that's kind of the point, is that I've been keeping things to myself. I've never really been an open book. Let's just say that. So some degree of that is what I'm experimenting with this channel and with my personal life. And why I say I had as much fun as possible, there's limits on the possible, right? Because I'm coming from a place of not really genuinely interested in going to parties and doing things like that. So I don't have it with that same vigor, and also, I'll say this. Actually, just going back to as much fun as possible. Why it got old quickly is basically what I'm getting at. I think why it got old quickly is because there's only so much you can celebrate before it just becomes, and some of you may already know where I'm getting at or know what I'm even about to say, right? Before it becomes a type of avoidance with your life, right? I'm someone always with a lot to do. If I cross out 10 things in my to-do list today, there will be 5 to 10 new things in my to-do list tomorrow, maybe more. It's a ongoing list, right? It's a circuit, really. So yeah, anyway, what I was getting at is becoming the center of that engagement, right? And confronting that, you could say, dark side of the self-image, right? That almost never really pops out, right? When you look up, like, you only see one side of the moon, as they say, right? Because who knows? I've never seen, but right? It could just be whatever. Okay. Confronting that dark side of the self-image has become like I'm reluctant to say it's a never-ending quest. Actually, it is a never-ending quest, because there can't be dark without light at any point. There has to be polarity with everything, unless, if we're speaking on this realm, whatever this is, right? I was kind of hinting at it with the whole moon thing, right? If it's a plane, if it's a globe, look, I need to pay bills on either one of those. So the shape is, I like a shape, but the shape is, anyway. I say all that to say, it comes with a huge responsibility. First, to oneself, to sustain that level, to even just go through once that level of, I'll say, exposure, but for me, I know that it'll also be praise. right? Whatever that word means to you. It has religious connotation with it, right? If anything, the whole word is, you know, I was gonna say a connotation, but yeah. That inflation of, I don't want to say ego, because that word ego gets thrown around like, I don't even want to complete the analogy. Like, it just gets, you know? So I want to say self-importance, right? That inflation in self-importance in the span of a few hours, maybe less, right, is something that one needs tremendous ground under their feet in order to go through in a sane way, and then also can go through it continuously, right, as a career. That's what I'm getting at, really, right? To anyone there, right there, right, you, that is going, we're all on a journey, right? And I don't want to be cliche about anything, but some things just, we're on a journey. And if you strive to earn an abundant living out of your path with heart, right, out of your the deepest, most creative force in you, right, expressed through whatever medium or channel, art, music, etc. It's like the path is laid out, because there it's such a repeatable process at this point, but the execution of the steps on that path, that's the first thing. The execution is like what separates the wheat from the chaff, right? The execution, the idea and the execution, right? And shout out to you if you have way too many ideas to execute in one day. That happens to me all the time. I'm not gonna, profess what I have or like what I go through as far as artistically, right? But making every seed into a tree. Let's put it that way. Making every seed into a tree. I'm not sure what percentages of seeds, like actual seeds out in nature, blossom into trees. That'd be an interesting statistic. Watch I look it up and it be like nearly all of them, or watch I look it up and it'd be like 10% or something like that, right? So to bring every seed into fruition, right, is something that you would need an incessant drive, a relentless drive to do day in and day out, in between all the other human things that you need to do. Part of me is like, yo, you're speaking and everything that you're saying is so obvious, but I'm actively grappling with it. We'll say we're flow rolling right now. It's nice. We're flow rolling, right? And still, right, that aspect of me that is like, yo, keep everything to yourself. I've been so to myself. I can't even begin to tell you how to myself I've been for the past 6-7 years. And it was an increasing to myself. It didn't just go from one to nothing, right? It was like, I thought this was a lot, then this was a lot, then this was a lot, then it was just an increasing isolation, right? Now I'm just thankful. Let me just turn off my car. Wow. God bless that I have a vehicle, right? God bless that it is safe enough of a surroundings, right? To just make a video into the abyss, right? Hopefully it reaches someone here that it can help you feel less alone, right? I think that's the least I can do. And I say that intentionally. That's the least I can do. Because life has been expanding to an extent, and this, I'm bringing it back to the having as much fun as possible in 2 months, right? Life has expanded in a way where it feels horizontal as opposed to vertical, obviously, as opposed to vertical, right? What I mean is, I feel like I've covered a lot of ground as far as the range of engagements I've been in the last 2 months compared to the last, let's say, 2 years. Or even longer, right? So, but vertically, I feel like the vertical aspect of it, the growing within, really happens for me in mostly isolation. I will say this though, relationships, honestly, just life in general is a house of mirrors, right? And relationships are, you know, some mirrors reflect tiny aspects of you, right? Like your surroundings. Everything about your surroundings reflects something about your makeup. And I know they exchange, right? It's an exchange, but yeah. People, interacting with people, right? Even if an interaction is not face to face, even if you're just watching someone, right? Even if you're just watching someone, people are one of the best mirrors you can have. One of the best mirrors, right? I feel like in the first few seconds of meeting someone, I don't know if you can assess everything you need to know, but I mean, I feel like the body would need to have adapted in that way, where it needs to know as much information about a stranger as soon as it meets them, right? At least enough information to determine safety. And yeah, you know, this is kind of going on a tangent. I suppose that the purpose of this video really was for me to show myself that I can do things that I don't want to do simply by deciding to do them. And I need to now reapply that into what I need to do with music, with this channel, with everything that I'm doing. One of my mentors speaks about being impeccable. To be an excellent example of impeccability is such a task. It's such a task because I don't know if your attention can waver from impeccability even for a moment. It's amazing. Just speaking now, the amount of engagement I feel, like embodiment I feel. It's like I just now stepped into my body. 14 minutes into the 14:07, right? 14 minutes into the video, I just now stepped into my body. That's odd, peculiar, you know? Yeah. Look, I'm gonna get out of your ear and really just wish you the best, you know? I don't have all the answers, but I feel like if you found me, I have some answers that you may want. Maybe if it's just one. And I would appreciate your engagement. in the comments so that perhaps you can teach me something. Then the cipher will be complete. See y'all next time.